Good morning and welcome, my friends, to episode 13 of Wake Up with Giants Radio. I'm so excited to be here today with this incredible panel of giants. Today, our special co-host, our guest co-host is Maureen Pisani, and I am joined here by Nicole Cola, the RPG, Ryan the Lion, and Nick the Gentle Giant. I'm so excited to talk to all of you today about how to stop self-sabotage from fears and emotions. And what we're going to do first, like always, we're going to show you how we do our grounding before we go live on Access Radio. And we're going to start off by sitting up nice and tall, taking 3 deep breaths, breathing in and out. In and out. In and out. I show up today as a powerful leader, a powerful student, and a powerful giant. I not only bring my knowledge of this topic to all of you, but I sit humbly in the knowledge that I struggle with the same. And I learn from these incredible giants to live life in a giant way and model everything that I teach. I show up to make a difference in 100 million lives. And I make a difference in just one by being here today. Nicole.
Today I am present. Today I am calm. Today I am in flow. Today I am contribution to my community. Today I am impacting 100 million lives. Today I am calling in my ancestors, my guides, to support me with having the strength and courage to speak from my heart. Today I am love and light.
Thank you, Maureen.
Today I show up humble and empowered in spite of the scars. Because the scars today mean I've been where you are. The scars mean that I have fallen, but I have stood up again. So to serve 100 million of you out there who are still struggling, appreciate your scars and find your strength. Today I am here to help you find your way with love and blessings.
Thank you, Ryan.
I am Ryan the Lion, and today I'm showing up powerfully, and I'm here to continue to share the experiences that I've had, so that it might impact even just a single person, but with the end goal of helping 100 million lives to improve and to step into their giant potential, and to know that it's already inside of them through the messages that we share, that they might be able to know and understand that they can do, be, or have anything that they want to have. And today I show up as a student as well to learn from these powerful and amazing creators and giants that we have on the panel.
Thank you, Nick.
I'm here today in the space and energy of self-sabotage, recognizing this energy throughout my life and wanting to learn from this as much as share the experiences and the learnings that I've gained along the way, and to impact at least one listener who's listening, and have them take that out into their world and make a change that impacts them positively, but also have that experience for myself. And so I show up in that space of being the student as well, and sharing whatever wisdom might come from experience.
Thank you. Absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for our episode today. I'm just going to get us ready there. We have about 1 minute before we go live on Access Radio. Please do, everybody, if you're watching, there's Mancherry. She says hello. If you're watching, please do post your comments, post your questions in the comments section there. If you're not watching on YouTube, please, and you haven't subscribed yet, please do go to our YouTube channel, Wake Up with Giants TV, like it, subscribe. You'll get notification every time we go live with any new videos. And that's not just on Sundays. I think that's Tuesdays and Thursdays as well, right, Nick?
Yeah. Yep.
Tuesday and Thursday mornings.
Thursday and Wednesdays.
Yep. And if you don't mind sharing out on your social media, if this impacts you and you want to share, please do. We appreciate the spread and the reach to help more people.
Absolutely. All right. It is 10 o'clock. So we've just got our intro playing there on the radio. As soon as that's done, I'll introduce us for everyone on social media watching. Everybody give Maureen a little love for her new background. I absolutely love it. And she has a beautiful top on today. Send her some love.
If you don't follow Maureen, you need to. She's amazing.
Definitely.
Oh.
Welcome, my friends, to episode 13 of Wake Up with Giants Radio. This is Lady Luck, and I'm so excited to be joined in the studio today by some incredible Giants. Our guest co-host today is Maureen Pisani. I am joined by fellow League of Giants members, Nicole Cola the RPG, Ryan the Lion, and Nick the Gentle Giant. And today our topic is self-sabotage, and we're going to be talking about how to stop self-sabotage from fears and emotions. I don't know about you, but this is something I personally struggle with, and I think a lot of us struggle with that. So I'm going to start us off by going straight to our guest co-host, Maureen, to get us started. Hello, Maureen.
Hi, welcome, and thank you all for having me. This is an amazing scenario here. This is just creme de la creme. So fear, self-sabotage, emotions. I want you to think about it this way. When you cook spaghetti, you know how you have the noodles and the sauce, and when you put them together, you can't find a clean noodle to save your life? That's how all things come together. Yes. So we can go A to Z or Z to A or start at M. It doesn't matter. We're all going to cover it all because it's all intertwined.
No clean noodles here.
There you go.
Now I want to go find one.
Yeah.
Good luck. So when it comes to self-sabotage, thank you, Nick, for mentioning it, and Melissa, because the funny part is this. We are all, at some point, doing it. Now, if we do it sporadically or rarely, it's okay. But there are some of us who do it every day, with every decision, with every thought. And that's when we end up in a very bad place. So we need to come to a point where we understand what it is so we can acknowledge it. So the second, it's almost like if you're driving and you hear something wrong in the engine, the second you hear that weird sound, you take it to the mechanic. So as soon as we are able to acknowledge what it is, then we can take tools, and there are many tools available that I'm going to bring up, but I want you to have the awareness first. So when it comes to self-sabotage, it's knowing you're in the right path, but something is stopping you, so you actually throw your own wrench in the spokes, which really isn't good, right? Because we're aware of how, and I'm smiling because the little comment came up. So words didn't match the face.
Yeah, no one on the radio can see the comments. Ryan says there's no clean noodles when we come together.
There you go.
Yeah.
So self-sabotage is an unconscious behavior. And all we know is that we keep hoping to overcome the brick wall, but somehow we end up slamming against the brick wall, and we're upset that we're bruising and bleeding and the brick wall is fine. So why does it happen? Many scenarios, and I'm going to give you a lot of them. So the first thing is this. We all have a history. So the first way that our unconscious mind works is if I tell you, I'm gifting you a trip to the Bahamas, your identification, association, response pattern first goes vacations. A trip to a vacation. What is that? So if I've had a history of fantastic vacations, my response will be, oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. I love it. But if I had a vacation where my luggage was lost and the hotel didn't keep my reservation and it was a massive disaster, my response is going to be no, thank you. So if we have that functioning, that programming inside us, for me to take a step forward, I have to refer back to my reference points. When it comes to self-sabotage, the thing is this: it's failure. We're precipitating failure and repeating it on a frequent basis. So what that means is that every time I refer back to my past, and I always talk about me because I don't want to put any of you on the spot, but the audience knows I'm talking, about their own history. But every time I look back at my own past and I have a history of failures, none of us like the word failure. None of us enjoy failure. So what is self-sabotage doing? It's interrupting the process. So as I'm moving forward with a project, then I interrupt it. So guess what? I never complete, which means I never risk failure. Because when you think about it, the unconscious mind has one goal. And that one goal is to save you, to protect you, to keep you safe. So if failure hurts, which it does, self-sabotage can sometimes simply be a protective measure to protect you from another failure. So if you notice that that's happening, I want you to take something about, and I will switch context because that's the best way for the mind to understand. So if we think of a medical scenario, you have a 30-year-old motorcycle guy who was in a car crash and fractured his femur. The doctors are going to do something. They're going to do a risk-benefit ratio. So what's the risk for a 30-year-older to have surgery to fix his femur? The risk is pretty low compared to the benefit of a healed femur where he can live the rest of his life healthy. Now flip that scenario to a 94-year-old old lady riddled with osteoporosis who slips and falls and fractures her femur. Risk-benefit. The risk is tremendously high compared to what she's going to benefit from the surgery. So in our minds, in our unconscious mind, we do that all the time. Risk-benefit. So with self-sabotage, I'm scared. Sorry. With self-sabotage, I'm scared that I'm going to fail because of what could I lose. So I want you to think about it like this. Think of life as numbers. If I'm living life at a 6 and I'm working to improve and achieve a 9, but as I'm building and building, the fear kicks in, right? The self-sabotage kicks in because I might lose. So think about it. If you lose, where are you going to be? At a 6. So what exactly are you missing?
Is that, Maureen, is that the same as procrastination then? Is that a form of self-sabotage when we procrastinate on projects?
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And it's funny because when people procrastinate and they know it, they'll say something like, oh, I work really well under pressure. I work really well when the deadline is close. Mm-hmm. No, they don't. It's just they're sugarcoating because they push themselves into that corner. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the risk-benefit ratio, when you realize you're not losing anything, why are you sabotaging? It's like you're gambling in Vegas and you're guaranteed not to lose. Would you gamble?
It wouldn't be gambling at that point.
There you go.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's the thing, right? I want you to come to a place where you realize that it's important to be aware. That's 90% of the game. Now, the fear, when we talk about fear, the fear is simply the fear of the unknown. If I had a kid, and I'll choose, give me a regular town, Springfield. There, I think there are like 3 Springfields in the state. So
yeah, is that the most regular town?
Yes.
Utah.
A kid from Springfield, well, Malta as well, right? A kid from Malta. If I tell a kid from Malta at like 10 years of age, and I'm going to take them to California, they have no idea.
This sounds real. This sounds like a real life example.
If you're crazy enough to yes. So when it comes to, if you gift the absolute best to somebody who doesn't understand what it is because they've never experienced it, they're going to fear it. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about fear, again, awareness, if you become aware of the fact, okay, so this is an experience I've never had. So our unconscious mind needs to protect us. So what's the best protection? Don't risk it. So the very first thing is be aware. The second thing is it's a 50-50. You don't know if it's a bad experience or a good experience until you do it. Right? So when it comes to how you look at life, for me at least, because I've done self-sabotage, but it's the awareness that now I come to a point where, okay, so what exactly is the block here? And then I work through it. Fair?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It reminds me of that quote. I'm not remembering who said it, but I'm picturing this little kid with wings on, and it says, "But what if I fall?" And it says, "Oh, my dear, but what if you fly?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just picture this person with wings on, just having that fear of taking off. And I don't remember I apologize. I don't remember who said that, but it just, that resonates with me.
The thing is this, every single thing we take for granted, anything, computers, phones, cars, diving, swimming, running, eating, food, recipes, they were all a crazy idea once. Mm-hmm. When Marconi told his friends in Italy that he had thought of a method to get messages across without wires, you know what his friends did to him? They locked him up in a crazy asylum. And now we think of wires as in, okay, but we have Wi-Fi, we have radio. If it hadn't been for Marconi, we wouldn't have had any of that. Now, what else is causing self-sabotage? We have an innate need to belong. Mm-hmm. So when you have babies, with all due respect to all of you who have had babies, but a baby is helpless. A baby is a blob. A baby, without us adults taking care of it, will die. Mm-hmm. So the baby knows that it needs an attachment to a group. And we grow with that need to belong, because if we don't belong, we're shunned. And if we're shunned, we're cast out, and we're cast out, we die. So in a family, we have dynamics. We have this little dance, whether it's a family of 3, 2 parents and a kid, or a larger family with multiple kids, we all have this dance, we have this role. And each of us, there's the leader, there's the clown, there's the scapegoat, there's the one who always has the splats, for lack of a better term. So what happens if I'm the one who has a history of splats, but I decide, that's it, I'm done, I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all the way, I'm going to risk everything because I think I can actually succeed. What's going to happen? I'm going to shift the entire dynamics of that family. But if, let's say, it's the traditional family of 4, if one changes, 3 others have not agreed to the change. And so what's the best thing for the other 3 to do? Stop this one from changing. Mm-hmm. Yep. And these don't support. When these 3 go, you're going to do that? Are you kidding me? You have a history of this. You've already tried this. There's a big story. I don't know if you know him, T. Harv Eker. He created Peaks Potentials, and I took this training years ago. But he recalls, and he actually, in one of his CDs, he talks about, that's how long ago it was one of his CDs, that he was having dinner with his family, and he told his parents, I'm launching a new business. And nobody said anything. They kept talking. And he got upset, and he goes, wait a second, guys, I just told you I'm launching a new business. And one of the family went, yeah, so what's new? Because when he launched Peaks Potentials, which is a multi-million international self-development company that is beyond successful, it was his 13th attempt. Mm-hmm. So when he did this, he was risking the dynamics of the family. And what happened was they were like, yeah, whatever. But not all of us are going to have that oomph to take it, because now the other part is this. Self-sabotage is also very dependent on your self-identity, which is based on 6 things. Self-confidence, which is, can I do it? Self-esteem, do I deserve it? Mm-hmm. Self-acceptance, self-worth, self-respect, and self-love. If those 6 are not going full throttle and somebody says something bad to you, it's enough to stop you.
Yeah, I love that you went there, because I think it's not only important to recognize that we're moving into that place of self-sabotage on our own, but recognize how the people around us affect us. And when they're our family and our closest friends, we keep them in that inner circle and we keep them close to us. And sometimes the things that they say to us about what we're trying to accomplish can affect or be a part of our own self-sabotage.
Hey, I'm on the radio.
Yep, he is. Your
Yeah,
mic's
you
on.
are. Your mic was on.
Hey, so I want to hit on this.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
You're good.
I got some screaming going on in the background and self-sabotaging.
Ryan, quit sabotaging the radio show.
That's what I'm trying to. Sometimes it just naturally comes up for me, so all of this is resonating.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, and it's normal. I think people forget that everyone does this. We're not superheroes. Superheroes, they try to portray like there's no fear, because that's not a trait of humans. Like humans, everybody self-sabotages everyone. Everyone has fear. Every single person.
I want to hit on what Melissa said. So we hear these things from family members or loved ones, and we add weight to those things. And so in our world, in a normal situation, you probably would hear something from somebody, and if it didn't weigh much in your world, you would just let it go. But we have this family where we feel like we've got to add weight to whatever they say, and then we start to believe that thing. It could be one thing out of myriad things. And then we take that on as though that's a truth for us and operate from there. And then we sabotage everything from that space. We walk away from our dreams because we added weight.
Exactly. There's a good Mrs. Fields story. She was interviewed and she started using her babysitting money to buy the best of ingredients to make cookies. And when asked, somebody assumed that her family was like her best cheering group. And she's like, no, my mother did everything in her power to stop me because she was Little Debbie. And it wasn't something that she was actually helped. She was stopped at every step of the way. But then she recognized just exactly what you said, Nick. She recognized that it was one person saying it. And she transformed that every time her mother stopped her, it was fuel for her to be motivated. Yes. And thank God, right? Because delicious cookies.
I love that.
Well,
We got all these delicious cookies.
KFC was the same story.
Yeah.
He got 1,000 no's. It's Edison. Was it Edison? Yeah, I'm going to lose the name here. Anyway, he found 1,000 ways that didn't work, but it's that grit to hold through.
And I think he was 50. I think he was 50 when he finally was successful, wasn't he? It was late in life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think of Pride Smith. When Pride Smith, if you haven't watched Wake Up with Giants TV with Pride Smith, with him, it's a similar story. He tried so many times and failed. And then it's so funny when he was successful with what he was successful with, right? But how many no's and how many failures? And I think of failing as lifting weights. You build that muscle when you fail. So failure when you're lifting weights can be a good thing. You grow when you fail, right?
That's the thing.
Yeah. And sorry, Maureen, I just want to touch on something quick because we have a comment here that says they try to stop us based on their own limitations and failures in the name of love. And I love that comment came up because I think it's important to recognize that sometimes the comments coming from our loved ones or our family are made out of love from their own paradigm. They're sitting in that paradigm, and to them, it's a loving comment. Like, oh, that's too hard for you to do. Are you going to be okay with that? Or, and they think they're protecting us when it's actually sabotaging us, and we're putting weight to that comment, and then we're using it as self-sabotage. So I think it's important to recognize that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think just like your body always has a positive intention for you. Your fear has a positive intention to keep you safe. Yes. It's the same thing with your family. They want to protect you from failing. They want to right? They want to protect you from failing. And so
they're beating each other up in the background. They're trying to sabotage me, I think.
Yeah, it's hard. My son started skateboarding. He was sponsored when he was 5 as a skateboarder, right? And he's on that ramp, and the mom in me is like, oh my gosh, don't do this. This is scary, right? But coming from a space of, you know what, baby, I believe in you. You can do this. And he did it, right? But it was like, as a mom, I had to check myself. And am I projecting my fear onto my child? And so I just think that that also generationally, we have the power to change and heal past generations, because some of the fears that we have coming up, I know one for me is having food in my house. It is a real fear for me not to have food in my house. And I have famine in my ancestry with my Irish side of my family. There's famine there, right? And so with healing that sabotage, healing that fear, I'm not passing it down to my children. They have abundance in the house. So it's like when you realize your fears and your sabotaging behaviors, some of those can be passed down to you generationally. And when you heal those, you prevent them from being passed on to your children, to future generations. So my children won't have that unrealistic fear of famine, right? Because I've been able to heal and transform that.
Yeah, and I love that you brought children into it. I've been following this chef and his wife. They created a couple of amazing cookbooks, and their handle on Facebook is called Slave City. And they have this little girl named Rose. She's like 22 months old, and she was doing yoga the other day. So, you know, me with Storytime Yoga, I was all over it, and I started watching, I started following. And from the time this little one was about 6 months, 7, 8 months old, they had her assisting in the kitchen. And so she would do cleanup at first, and then they showed her how to crack an egg, but she wasn't allowed to put it in the bowl yet. And now she's at 22 months, she's cracking the egg and putting it in the bowl. But as I watched, and I watched the little cooking videos they put out, she would be like putting her mouth in the cocoa, and she'd take the brick of cheese and put the whole thing in her mouth and take a bite. And she was so into it, and putting the food, she was tasting every single ingredient. And the dad was just laughing and letting her do it and teaching her. And I sat back and I thought, oh my God, how mortified would I be if that was me with my child in the kitchen at that young. I would be like pulling them away. And I thought, good for him for allowing her to be there and experiencing it, and the freedom to be doing it and learning it. And I've learned so much from this man, just watching him interact with his 22-month-old.
Maureen, I know you've got something to say, and I'm gonna come back to you, and I want to hit on this because we talk about certainty, and we want this certainty in our lives, but our life is based on uncertainty. I mean, you think about it, we're floating on a bubble, on a piece of dust flying through the universe at lightning speed, and we're worried about certainty. Like that thing could hit something. Like like the reality is that we want this certainty. And so, like you said, Melissa, we try and control it. And in our interview today with John Absey, he's the mascot, the Jazzbear. He was for 25 years. He talked about being handed enough rope to hang himself and being told not to hang himself with it. But he had enough flexibility that he could create with that. And like that example you just gave, Melissa, is giving that freedom and that flexibility allows the space for that to play out however it plays out. And we don't want that. We want to control it. We want certainty. All right, Maureen, I stopped all over you. So what do you think?
Right. So first of all, your guys are absolutely right. So here's the thing that I advise parents. We need parents because, again, babies are incapable of survival. But then we need to switch from being constantly there for them to offering them the space, like Olivia had just said, which is outstanding, the space to fly. So with parents, when I'd have parents and kids as in session, I tell the kids, think of the trapeze artists. The trapeze artists do the crazy stuff up there because they have the safety net. So as parents, the job of a parent isn't to raise something that constantly needs you. It's to raise self-sufficient, independent adults. But they're never going to learn how to fly and soar and own the sky unless they do it. But they can only do it if you, the parent, are actually the safety net. So the chef was letting her fly, technically, literally speaking, I mean, figuratively speaking, but he was there just in case she choked on a huge piece of cheese. He was there to protect her, but he wasn't stopping the experience. If we allow the parents to allow their kids to just take one more step, we will never know how far they can go until they show us, like your son did. So when it comes to, I mean, Nicole A plus, on a parenting style here, because yes, your heart was pounding and about to jump out of your chest, but the fact is you watched him succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And now he owns that success, and it will only get better. Because now the other side is this: when we have the disciplinarians, the parents who are nitpicking on everything. In the psychology world, there's a joke where Christmas morning, this little boy receives 2 shirts, a white one and a blue one. And the mom tells the kid, go try them on. And he comes down wearing the blue one. And she looks at him and says, what was wrong with the white one? Nothing. He could only put 1 shirt at a time on.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is this: when she said that, she made him wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You have that happen once in a lifetime, it's forgettable. But if you have that happen every single time you make a decision, you, the child, become passive aggressive. And then that leads to an unconscious mechanism that it doesn't matter what decision I make, it's wrong. Because that's what the disciplinarian parent always said. Now, coming back full circle to what Melissa said, when the disciplinarian parent is doing that, unfortunately, it's coming from a need that he or she needs to guarantee that they will always be needed. So they will never let their child soar or fly or, fly the nest. Because this way, when they're old, they will have somebody who will love them. But in the meantime, they're stunting their child's growth, which is incredibly unfair. So when it comes to how you see your kids, and this comes with a huge disclaimer, because I was the biggest nightmare for my parents, because I took the next step whether they said yes or no. I mean,
You were a nightmare. I don't even want to know what my parents thought of me.
I love it. Right now, my nightmare child, I'm really grateful for my nightmare child. If Maureen was the nightmare child,
they wanted, to tell me, sit down, and I would sit. My brother and sister did. And if I was third instead of first, I guess they would have been calmer, because the first 2 would have made them, trained. But I was the first with, she doesn't obey. She doesn't, where's she now? What did she break now? Who did she bite now? And it's like...
Are you a biter? That's what I got out of that.
I know, that's what I got out of that too. I was just thinking,
Or
thank
virtual.
goodness I meet with Maureen by Zoom and not in person, because she's a fighter.
She's a fighter.
Can I interject something into this before you move forward with that?
Yes.
Around what you keep saying. You keep saying step. And the word sabotage comes from sabo, meaning shoe, which sabotage, I dried out there for some reason. Sabato is a shoe, and it's to walk away from something. And so in the beginning, your parents were teaching you what to walk away from. And then you learned how to do that for yourself. And so when you say step into it, well, that's the opposite of sabotage.
Yes.
You're walking into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So keep going.
Yeah, and I want to interject quick too, because I love that Maureen talked about the message that you're giving that child, that the decision they made is wrong. And I think that sometimes in our relationships, we do that with our spouses as well. How many times have we all asked our spouse for their opinion and then not taken what they've suggested to us, not taking their advice? And it's okay to not do that sometimes, but how many times do we say to our husband or our wife or our boyfriend or girlfriend, what do you think of this? What do you think I should do? And then we do the opposite of what they tell us of what their thoughts are. And that's giving them the idea that what they're saying to us and what they're suggesting to us is wrong every single time. And that came into my mind as soon as she said that about what we're doing to our children. We're doing the same thing to our spouses. Some of us are doing the same thing to our spouses as well. And it's good to be mindful of that.
I'm laughing because Cola to RPG, my husband was totally against me using that as a radio
You
name.
use it?
So I'm laughing because he was like, that is a terrible idea. And then here I am.
I was thinking of the movie Happy Gilmore, where he gets hit by a Volkswagen, and then the doctor comes up and says, I think you should sit this one out. And he said, the heck with that, I'm going to play. And he goes, well, what do I know? I'm just a doctor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes what we do, right? We hear that advice and the sound advice, and then we just do the other thing. I don't know.
Here's what I'd like to bring to the table, because we all have filters. So as we're growing up, between 0 and 7, they're called the imprint years. And that's where everybody tells us what we're good at and what we're bad at and what we should become and what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. So every single experience, as it happens outside and enters into us, goes through all those filters. So what's called our internal representation, our personalized experience. We could all be sitting at the same dinner table, but we each have a different internal representation because it filters through 0 to 7. Now, the parents at one point were living 0 to 7 in their life. And they created their filters by what their parents and their family told them. So their perspective of life is the past generation. So if they continue precipitating, if a child is listening to a parent and the parent is chastising them, the kid is receiving the grandparent's perspective of life. And it keeps going. It's never ending. Because now what's happening is, are we really ready? Because a lot of people, and to explain this the best way, it's if you look at abuse, people who spank kids. If the parent is spanking the kid, the idea, the thinking behind it is, well, my parents spanked me, it was good for me, it's good for them. And they're just continuing the cycle of abuse. But then you have some people who say, well, they spanked me and it was horrible, so I'm never going to do that to them. And that's where they stop it. Because then what happens is, in the book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil, which is an absolutely brilliant book, there's an explanation of how over-helping, what we call the helicopter parents, over-helping the kid doesn't send the message, your parent, love you. It sends the message, I, your parent, don't think you can achieve this, so I'm going to do it for you. And then what happens is the kid in those imprint years goes, well, they don't think I'm capable, so why should I make an effort? And then it takes us back to self-sabotage, because then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, you want me to succeed? Well, I'll go all the way to 3/4 of the semester and then play truant for 3 weeks and mess it up. Oh, and then we have something called the contradictory square, where you work as hard as you can, and then the very end, because of your self-sabotage patterning, it just falls and crashes. And then you have X amount of these experiences, and you stop fighting. And people come for therapy and go, well, why should I try? It's not going to work. So this is all very important. Now, the best thing I want you to look at, in neurolinguistic programming, we have something called cause and effect. So the best way to describe it is 2 boats in a lake. One guy grabs the oar and smacks the water, and the other guy's bopping with the water. So this guy caused the wave. The other guy's reacting to the wave. Cause, effect. Cause, I create. Effect, I receive. Effect is I'm the victim. Things happen to me. Cause is I create the event. So when things are happening, oh, I fail. Nothing I do works. Nobody loves me. That's all victimhood. That's all effect. That is completely without energy. If you realize it, this is what you, because the thing is this, the most person we are suggestible to is ourselves. We hear ourselves 24/7. So as it comes to this, why am I saying this a lot? Why is this phrase my most used phrase? The second we get awareness, then we can switch it. Why should I be a victim? I mean, seriously, let's take a moment. A disaster. 10 surgeries on my arms. Why should I be a victim? This wasn't affected. This is where the decisions happen. This is where my future is created. This is where I set and achieve goals, not my elbows.
It's so true.
I thought for a while I achieved goals through my elbows, but now I know I'm wrong.
I don't know if I can say this on radio, but is it your weenus?
Yeah, that's right here.
Yeah.
Now that we've had some comedy, I'm going to put us all on hold for a minute for a break. We're just going to run that for 2 minutes here, and we'll be back after.
We're coming back to that one, Nick.
Yes. Man, I've got some thoughts around this. I was watching Kitchen Nightmares last night with Gordon Ramsay. Oh, boy. And there's a process that you're describing here that I think Dorothy and Ez hit on about repentance. And repent is to feel sorry. And I don't know if we'll get this back on the radio show, but there was this point where these people were so unaware in their restaurants. They were just falling apart and they were so unconscious to it. And they felt so hopeless around it that there was this point that when they gained awareness and then felt penitence, sorriness for that, that's where they felt the desire to shift it. And it was amazing to see the lasting change that came out of that shift, like in these business owners. But it took that waking up and then feeling sorry about what was created and then wanting to do better. And so maybe we can talk about that when we come back on, is that how that can open the door for a change.
Yes.
Thank you, Gordon Ramsay.
And I wonder, like, the way Gordon Ramsay does that is pretty, like, he breaks people down to do that. I wonder, does it take a breaking down in that way to recognize? It's
the awareness, that consciousness that, that comes, and maybe that is sometimes yelling at the top of your lungs that you suck at making food.
You look at the guy and he truly cares. He truly cares about the people on the other side of that conversation. He's just trying to wake them up, and he'll use whatever tactic he can to do that.
Yeah. And pain can do that sometimes because something's painful. So you change, right? The dog, Dorothy Inez talks about the dog that's laying on the nail and just lays there weeping because it's not painful enough to move.
Got to make that change.
Someone else that brings that pain, then change is possible. Power in your pain.
Holla, Amy Bingham.
Here. We're back in a few seconds here, guys. Hello and welcome back to episode 13 of Wake Up with Giants Radio. Today I am in studio with our special guest co-host Maureen Pisani, with Nicole, Cola the RPG, Ryan the Lion, and Nick the Gentle Giant. This is Lady Luck, and we are here today talking about how to stop self-sabotage from fears and emotions. It's been an incredible show so far. If you're just joining us now, get your pencil and your paper out and start taking some notes.
Yeah, and a recap, Ryan got to yell at his children and sabotage the radio show. Learned about our elbows. We don't think through our elbows, our weenus. We think through our brain. That's what I've gotten so far, and so I'm loving this. Let's keep going.
All right.
So let's bring up on that topic that we were on break, which is about Gordon Ramsay and his experience around kitchen nightmares and how these people get into this unawareness of their life. They're just unconscious, and they're so unconscious that they feel hopeless because they can't really see how to change it, and they don't see a solution. And then as soon as he wakes them up to it, he'll use any method he can to wake them up. Then they feel remorse around it, and they feel sorry, and they feel penitent, and they start to want to do better. And it's in that wanting to do better that they are able to do better. And so it's almost like this idea that you can't change things that you're unconscious of. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you do create that consciousness and you feel that remorse around it, then you have this desire to improve your life, and it tends to last. So I'd like to talk about that. How do we create that around sabotage?
I just want to say that your subconscious mind doesn't like the unknown. It doesn't like the uncertainty, but your conscious mind does. So once you take something from your subconscious mind into your conscious mind, then it wants to change and grow, right? So it's that awareness that brings it into that space where you can create that change.
Perfect. So how about we run down some few ways of making that happen? Mm-hmm. So the first thing is this. The unconscious mind, like Nicole just mentioned, is in charge of creating the change. But the unconscious mind is not accessible to us on a regular basis. So most of us know that to access your unconscious mind, you need hypnosis, which is why I absolutely love hypnotherapy. However, there are ways, because the definition, bringing it to Gordon Ramsay here, the definition of a hypnotic state is an overload of message units. So if I ever sit with my accountant, she knows that in under 16 minutes, I glaze over because I couldn't.
My dad's a CPA and an accountant, and I glaze over about 3 minutes in.
An overload of message units, however that comes. So if I'm a restaurant owner and Gordon Ramsay, a mogul, a pillar of the community, he has success running through his veins, is now in my restaurant yelling at me. Do you think that's an overload of message units? And when he's coming with advice from a space of tried and true proven techniques that work and have success, I'm in such a space where accepting his suggestions become a hypnotic suggestion, which then are accepted by the unconscious mind, which then become part of their life. So we can do that. Now, there's techniques you can use. And the one thing that I want to highlight is imagine you're gardening and you have a wheelbarrow. And you take your wheelbarrow and for 20 years, you go 20 steps and you make a left. 20 years, 20 steps left, 20 steps left. But 20 steps left leads you to sabotage every single time and leading to failure. So now you tell yourself, no, I don't want to do this. I want to go 20 steps and right. Do you think that the little cart rut here, the wheelbarrow rut, is deeper than the first one here? Mm-hmm. And as we do the 20 steps, every time we come down to 19, isn't the wheel kind of turning the old way? So we have to, with awareness, start switching over to the other way. And with the other way, now we have to use techniques to get us into the habit. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you the end before the beginning. The best way is a hypnotherapy session because that's the fastest, the most efficient, and basically the most guaranteed. Because then the more you practice, the more you succeed. However, coming to the beginning, what can you do? You can start by something very simple. It's incredibly effective, but people don't give it that much value, but it's priceless. Handwriting. Handwriting is called an idiomotor response. So the idio is thinking, the motor is the movement. But as you're handwriting, and I don't really care what you write, as long as you release.
Did you say the idiot? The idiot was thinking? Or?
Yo, idiomotor response. So,
I'm just creating that idio thinking that disruption. Yeah.
I relate to that.
This is beautiful. I relate to that. Oh, wait, that's me.
When you handwrite, you're releasing emotions through the brain, down the arm, through the pen, onto paper. It literally empties all that energy. Huh. So when you're writing, I can't believe I did this again. I can't believe what a blah, blah, blah I am. I am sick and tired of this. Release it all. I don't care what kind of language you use. I don't care how colorful or expletives you use. Get it on paper. And then please don't be polite. Don't go into the shredder and just drop it like a polite, civilized person. No, rip it to shreds. Give it your all. Just make it into tiny little pieces and then toss it. Because then you really cathartically just boom, right? But now you've emptied all the space and the unconscious mind doesn't like void. So now you write, I am doing this, not I wish to do. By the way, never use try or want. Try gives you the permission to fail honorably. Want makes it instantaneously out of reach. I am doing this. I am loving this. This is success. I am making this much money. I am attracting these many clients to my restaurant. I am creating whatever you need to do. Once, remember, brain, arm, paper, paper, arm, brain. As you're writing, it goes back in. So that's one. Two, we all feel emotion, and emotion is a response. And emotions tend to make us better or worse. So if you know you're feeling down in the dumps, it's a funky day. It's like, oh God, no, please, not again. You're feeling them, right? You can't pretend. You can't look in the mirror and go, I am fantastic. Because you feel like really dirt. So
really dirt. That's what I was going to go with too. Hey, and by the way, Nick, hold that thought, because Nick and I, we went up into the mountains one time and we burned a journal of all the things. And, if you go do this and you rip it, the shredder's a better way than just burning, because the shredder's less apt to catch a forest on fire, which we almost did. So
it was an incredibly windy day.
Yeah, just rip it up.
Oh boy.
Don't light it on fire inside
and
your
a really
house.
big fire.
Yeah, I've had the same thing. I've had the same thing happen inside my house. I ripped up notes and thought I was going to burn it in this little pot in my kitchen, and it flew as it was burning. it was like burning in the air. And I thought, oh dear God, I'm going to catch my house on fire.
Oh my gosh, Wiccan problems. This
Yes,
happens
right.
in my house all the
Wiccan
time.
problems.
Yeah, like I have to change my smoke detector batteries all the time. My husband will come out. Are you doing a ritual right now? Because he's like, is this from you or is there a fire in the house? I'm like, no, it's Wiccan problem.
Sorry about that. Go
Burning
back.
stuff.
Go back to your thought, Maureen.
You guys live in cold temperatures. Why don't you have fireplaces?
I do, but they're
Oh.
electric or gas.
Oh,
Yeah, mine are gas too.
I have 2 fireplaces because of my neurological Lyme disease. I don't do good in the cold, which is why I don't go outside. If it's warm enough, I'll go outside and burn stuff.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
That's important. So to get it out of the system. The other thing is, when it comes to emotions, we feel them, we acknowledge them. Now, here's the second part. So feeling and acknowledging is something we do instantaneously and innately. The second part is this. Give yourself time to be in them. Not 3 days, minutes, not 5, 10, 20. Never round numbers. Give yourself 9 minutes to feel whatever you're feeling. You need to sob your eyes out. 9 minutes of hard sobbing, what they call the ugly cry. Put a timer on. The second the timer goes off, done.
Amy Bingham hit on 90 seconds. Did you know a moment is literally a minute and a half? That's what that word means, is a minute and a half.
Wow.
So when you take a moment for something, you're taking 90 seconds for that thing. And you could have, 5 or 6 or 7 of those moments. But what happens is we turn it into days, and then we want to numb it because we don't want to face it. And so that's where addictions and dependencies come in. And so I really love that you're hitting on really just sit with the emotion and let it be there.
Yeah.
And then move on. And then move on.
And sometimes we need help to move on. Like we need someone to remind us to move on. And I think that's where coaches and mentors come in. And I bring this up because I had a coach and a mentor say to me once, I was crying about something and it had gone on for a few days. And she looked at me and she said, you just shed your last tear over that. You're done. It's over. This is what you're going to do to move on. And I was like, okay, yep, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'm done. And my son overheard that conversation. And he's 12 years old, and he wanted to know the context of and I told him what was going on, and I said, I'm trying to get over this fear and move on from this thing, and I explained to him, and I do explain those things to my kids so that they learn a lesson as well, and see that strength and see how they can move on. And he looked at me and he said, one day I hope that I have a mentor as amazing as yours.
That's good.
Hey, comment came through. Why the odd number? So what's the psychology behind the odd number, the 9 minutes?
The unconscious mind skips over round minutes and ignores them. If you have kids, tell them to fix their bed and clean their room in 7 minutes, not 5 or 10. You'll see the difference. And if you give yourself 9 minutes, it is so unique. 11, 13, whatever you want to use, but it is so unique that the mind actually holds on to that. And once the 9 minutes are over, then it's over, done. So the other thing you can do when emotions hit us, so when we have the synaptic gap between neurons, initially it was thought that between one neuron and the other, there was neurotransmitters that they thought that only electrical impulses went through. So the actual nerve impulse was passed on from one neuron to the other. But now they know that emotions run through neurotransmitters. So when you say I'm feeling happy, happy is literally going neuron to neuron. But if you're saying I'm feeling depressed, depressed is going through. I'm feeling betrayed, betrayal is going through. I'm feeling suicidal, suicidal is going through. So that's a horrible place to be. So to help you release it even more, you can do an Epsom salt bath. Now this comes with a little disclaimer here. One, and I'll give you options. One, it has to be 4 cups of Epsom salt, 2 cups of baking soda, and about 10 to 12 drops of some essential oil that you prefer, that is relaxing to you. But then you want to soak in the water for 20 minutes. Everything physiologically is transferred through osmosis. So being that there's so much salt in the water, the junk, the emotional gunk, is oozed and basically released from the physical body into the water. So 20 minutes inside, the inside is clean, the outside is dirty. In 21 minutes, whatever is in the water starts seeping back in. So 20 minutes is kind of important. I always recommend 19. Now you know why. But the line in the sand is 20 minutes. If you don't take baths, put either finely ground Himalayan or Mediterranean salt into the shower gel. And then as you're showering, give yourself an extra couple of minutes and the shower gel will actually do the job for you. To help you release, there's also something called earthing. So walking barefoot on soil, grass, sand, or in water, 20 minutes. Mother Earth sucks out all the junk. If you have a place where you can go, now I have some people who are going to react. I mean, this is just life, but you can hug a tree. We have a reciprocal relationship with trees, with oxygen and carbon dioxide, but also energetically. The trees will suck out the negative and give us positive. If you're too self-conscious to hug a tree, take a book with you and lean back and pretend to be reading while your back is doing the work for you. You can do, G-rated stuff.
I want to go back a little bit to the science behind what you're talking about here, because I love this. You're talking about the neurons and how at the synaptic connection that generally we're in the thinking that it goes linearly, that it goes from one synapse to another, from one neuron to another. And in the case of emotions, those are chemical signals. And when they're released in a flood through the entire body. And so when they hit that synaptic connection and they're absorbed, then it will go in that linear fashion where you start to feel those emotions. And so when that fires, there's this sodium and potassium transfer of energy. And so to bring in sodium as a tool to kind of calm that energy makes so much sense to me, because that's what's used in the firing of neurons. And so if you're able to interrupt that, and that sodium is on the outside of your body and that is absorbed, and that can transfer or interfere with that communication, it can pause it potentially. I'm just thinking of the nerdy side of this, is how your body supports you in creating this outcome.
Nick does the nerdy stuff here.
Yeah.
I do the dirty work. Nick does the nerdy work.
I like it.
We're both thinking
Dirty
magic. And then Nick brings in the science behind the magic, right?
The actual potentials and opening and closing of the gates.
Yeah. And so that makes so much sense to me that you would use sodium, which is what is used in the neuron to fire those action potentials, to interrupt it. And then staying too long in it might cause the other direction. So giving yourself a time limit there. And as far as the earthing side, your feet have more connections than most parts of your body. There's one other part that has more, but I don't think you want to stick that in the dirt. But reality is, putting your feet in the dirt is probably a little easier. But it has this connection where you actually put that energy, and there's a transfer. There's a measured transfer of energy from the earth to your feet. And it's through electrons and energy. It's beautiful. Anyway, that's it. That's where I wanted to nerd out.
Don't you use a grounding mat? Don't you have one?
I've got one under my feet right now, and it's connected to the grounding wire in my electrical system.
What's a good one for that?
Whatever this is. I don't know what it's called.
We can put it in the comments and let our listeners know later.
Now I want to look and knock down my green screen and everything. Yeah.
Maureen, can you give us that ratios again?
Yeah, so it's 4 cups of Epsom salt, 2 cups of baking soda, and about 10 to 12 drops of whatever essential oil you like. But now we have people who tell me, well, I don't have time for a bath. I have a family and I have this crazy life that I live. So one, you can use essential oil. And if you do frankincense and you rub it straight on to the sternum, it actually helps incredible relaxation almost instantly. And then the other thing also is, what do we have at our fingertips 24/7? Music. So I have songs that if I know, because we all feel it, right? We all feel where we're on. We all feel when we're in sync. We all feel when we're empowered, but we also feel when we're off.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wake up and I'm like, nope, this is not good. Do I really want to stay in the funk all day? No. So there are songs that I'll play that will instantly shift that energy, which puts me in cause, which makes me feel empowered, which makes me release that funk super fast. So you can do something. A song is 3 minutes. If you need to lock yourself in the bathroom, if you're a parent with crazy kids, lock yourself in the bathroom for 3 minutes, listen to the song, jump up and down. There's something called the physiology of psychology. Potatoes never have energy because they're laying down, and somebody who's on the go keeps going. So change it. You can do it. And then what's the worst that would happen? I mean, think about it. We're talking about releasing self-sabotage. What's the worst that can happen? You become successful. Oh my God, can you handle that?
I've got to go into the bathroom for 3 minutes. I'll be back.
Part of that sounds really disturbing. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, Nicole.
I was just going to say, some people, it is the fear of being successful. Like I, when I work with clients around sabotage, what is the bad thing that could happen? What is the good thing that can happen? Well, if I lose all of this excess weight and so-and-so isn't attracted to me, then I can't say that it isn't my weight anymore. I have to look inside. So sometimes the good things that can happen are just as scary as the bad things that could happen.
Looking inside could be scary. That's what came to my mind. And so like I've had conversations with Nicole about this too, but like I had an operating system of little Ryan, and it comes up, and it was a fear of abandonment and some things, with that, and maybe I need another hypnotherapy session too, Maureen, about on this line, because I was adopted and so I gathered friends. I learned to be funny sometimes. And then to gather friends around me that wouldn't leave, sometimes to an unconscious level. Like a lot of times it's conscious. I go make friends because I feel like I'm a nice person, but I would go find people that would never leave, and I would do whatever I could to be with these people and to almost be like by their loyalty, so that they wouldn't leave me. And that served me up until a certain point, but I the way that I was operating wasn't healthy. After 39 years of realizing this and trying to break free and break through to be successful on my own, or with, like utilizing other people, but understanding that, hey, it's okay if people leave. That's natural. That's okay. Some relationships don't serve me. And doesn't mean I can't be cordial or nice, but I need to separate from those relationships. That was a hard thing for little Ryan's operating system, because that goes against what I thought was natural and right.
Yeah. Well, it is natural for your body. It is natural for you to have that fear of abandonment, because we're human beings and we want that tribal. We are in a tribe, basically, right? We're social beings. So we do have that fear of being abandoned, and it's something that's been programmed into you naturally. It's a natural defense system, right? So with upgrading it and being able to be grateful that it's there, but also knowing that it's maybe an unrealistic fear of abandonment, because I know that most of us have been abandoned sometime in our life, but look at us here right now. Like, look at this group of people, right? We have people that won't abandon us, but we have fears that take us out of our power. And a lot of those are around emotions like fear, shame, disappointment, embarrassment. So we'll do things to prevent being embarrassed or disappointed, or,
I had some stuff around success too, that accomplishment, that if I got too successful, or I did too much, that people would look at me differently, and so then I would sabotage myself and fail big time. I'd go right up to the in school, go 3/4 of the way, or I'd get all A's, and then I get an F in something. I don't know if I got an F in something, but I got like a D-, like as close to as you could get to, not having your parents like write you off, like right there on the
Yeah.
edge.
You're like, we're done with you.
Yeah, we're done, you D- person.
It's one of those things where, like, when we start to change, the people around us go into that fear of being abandoned. They go into that fear of being left behind by you, right? And so we also have that same thing. So it's not necessarily people trying to sabotage you, but they're having that fear of abandonment when you start to change and grow.
So really holding space for people, some compassion around it, some acceptance and understanding around it. Had a coaching call this morning, and it was all around understanding and how that created a space, kind of a platform to launch from. Because when you feel accepted and understood, you feel more secure in your life. It's like the baby that goes out, or the trapeze artist going into that. They have the safety net. So that understanding and acceptance creates that safety net that they go out and they risk more and they do more, because that's how we're designed. And so having that space for people, for ourselves, even, that, hey, this is going to come up. It's okay.
And I think people perform better, like in a company, when they feel loved, accepted, and understood, that they don't have to worry about losing their job or something if they make a mistake. But also in the family, feeling loved, accepted, and understood. It's what all humans want, that, right? So the more space we can create for them to have that feeling, the more they'll create and the more that they'll produce for us.
This isn't about yours. Ryan's laughing.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
The comments are hilarious. These are great
Ryan
comments,
and Nick
guys.
has got some, they've got a little
So
joke going on.
I heard as a tool, peanut butter as a grounding tool. And I don't remember who shared that with me, but it's an earthing type, grounding type tool. Perhaps because it's a legume, like a bean. But if Ryan wrote, "Choosy grounders, choose Jif." So I don't know much about that. So it was something I'd heard this week, actually, that I've never heard of, as peanut butter as a grounding tool.
Well, and potatoes too, because they're in the ground, they're a root. So there's certain foods that will ground you because they are roots, like potatoes. So it would make sense that it would be the same with peanuts.
Interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry for laughing. I just
this is scientifically backed by no one. So do your own research.
Brain is like,
I love it.
No, and what I was going to say, as an extension to what Nicole was mentioning, is that, and Ryan as well, when we finally find ourselves in that place, they say to surround yourself with the people are, or that you are what the top 5 people that you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with people who are doing the things that you want to do and being who you want to be, right? And so when you finally find yourself in a place of being surrounded by those people and being accepted by those people, it's a lot easier for you to look at the other relationships in your life and say, no, I can cut that tie, because I know that that's not serving me. That tie is not serving me. We will sit in self-sabotage, and we'll sit in a rough place if we don't know what it feels like to actually be surrounded by those people who accept us and support what we're doing and all of that. But as soon as we have that feeling, it leaves us a lot stronger to let those ties go. And Ryan was talking about, letting those relationships go and cutting those ties.
Yeah. And sometimes for me, it's been people like my own parents. How long do you put up with a toxic behavior, abusive behavior, 41 years? And it was like, cutting that off was scary, right? But also freed me up, because I didn't have that negative energy in my life. So it's not easy to do. For me anyways, it wasn't an easy thing to do. But once I did, I felt very liberated and freed up. And
well, the thing is this: there's imbalance of dynamics, because you, the receiving child, adult child, regardless of age, basically, when the parent is abusive, you're the receiving end, and you were trained stranger is danger. Stranger is danger, not inner circle people are danger.
yes.
Stranger is danger. We should be suspicious, and we should filter out, and we should be wary. But the inside people, we can let our guard down, because they're inside people. There should be people we can be comfortable with, because they're technically safe. So when we're attacked from the inner circle, they are leveraging the title that they have, mom and dad.
Mhm.
So when mom and dad are abusive, they're crashing through that boundary of mom and dad, and you are receiving it because mom and dad, they should be loving.
They're
So-
there to protect, right? There's a role of protection.
which they completely ruined.
Mhm.
So when you come to the awareness, wait a second, this isn't right. So you mean being hit every night is not normal? My classmates didn't go through it? Really? That's when the awareness hits. And then what needs to happen, which is where the shocking part, and kudos to you, Nicole, for doing it. I'm serious. I'm really dead serious here. Congratulations, because it took a huge spine of steel to do that. There's something called, it's brand new in the DSM, it's something called estrangement. It's where the adult parent has abused the kid is now an adult, and the kid finally says, enough is enough, and cuts cords. And the really twist in the tail here is that the parent, who is now a senior citizen, takes this, oh, my God, she walked away from me. How could she do it? I'm her mother. I love her so much. And the thing is this, the mother was wrong 1,000% of the time, because abuse is abuse, period. So when it comes to this, and you can tell I'm kind of into this.
What?
Abuse for me, and the Mediterranean comes out, right? I can't be calm about abuse.
Well, now you tell us.
I'm so grateful for this message, Maureen. Thank you.
I am honored to be able to support you in this, because it was tough. It was so tough that you had to debate, if you could, and then at the risk of being judged by everybody else, you stood up for you.
And
that is incredible. I mean, you did it. You did it. That's the thing. So now the situation is this. If we go to Erik Erikson's stages of development, the last stage is 75 years and older. The last stage is where people start doing checks and balances. If we look about, especially with COVID, we face this a lot now. A lot of people died, right? And you have people in your lives who said, oh, so-and-so died. Oh my gosh, they were so not ready to die. They were yelling and cussing and screaming till their last breath. And then you have people who say, oh, so-and-so died. Oh my gosh, it was so peaceful. They just closed their eyes and left. That ending, the difference in that ending is because the ones who were doing the checks and balances and went, oh no, oh, I messed up. Oh, I didn't fix it. Oh, I wasn't repentant. Oh, I didn't go and give remorse. Oh, I didn't make them whole. Oh, I didn't tell them to their face, I'm sorry. They know they run out of time. So they're kicking and screaming as they die. The ones who have the checks and balances where they go, yeah, okay, I lived a good life. I've loved at my best. I've helped everyone I could. It's okay. Then they die. So when you are looking at why you stood up, at the end of your time, you will have peace.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents is a whole different story. Because the awareness is this. Regardless of situations here, regardless of what type of abuse, going back to the brain, we have a thought. The thought goes to our prefrontal cortex, which is, can I, should I, is it appropriate, is it not appropriate? So technically, we have a bad, let's say I'm a parent with a kid who's using my last nerve as my trampoline. And I'm ready to just slam that kid, right? And the thought happens, if I'm functioning from a loving space, the second the thought hits the prefrontal cortex, my mind goes, this is my child. I can't say that. That's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. So I'll give him a timeout. If the thought comes to the prefrontal cortex and my mind is like, screw it, I'm doing this. And I slam the kid, right? I abuse and I tell and I do it, whatever the situation might be. That's on me. Because that was an eyes wide open decision. So when it comes to how you see what you've received, their abuse was wrong in every sense of the way all the time. So when you come to the space where inside you're like, I gotta stop this. I gotta stop this. regardless of what happens to me, I got to stop this for me and my kids. So you're very aware of breaking the cycle. Talk about breaking free. I mean, we all joke about the movie The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. You did better. You did better because you freed you and your subsequent descendants with sheer guts. Congratulations.
Oh, that was
Wow.
beautiful. And on that note, it is time to end our show. Does anyone have any other last thoughts before we sign off?
Boo. We have to end it.
We do. We do.
I could hear Maureen speak for days.
I could, but you know what the great thing is? The great thing is that next week, Maureen is going to be back on as our special host.
Ghost. Yeah, ghost guest.
I know she's our ghost guest, right?
Very flashy here.
Yeah, back on as our special guest next week. She'll be co-hosting again next week while we talk about the science behind PTSD and how hypnotherapy can help. So we're going to sign out on the radio station here. We're still on social media, and we hope that all of you tune in next week to sit and chat with us again.
Love you too.
Love you guys.
We're just playing our outro there, and then we'll
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was
get
a good
off
one.
the air there.
I love that.
That was beautiful. Everything from Ryan's family to all of the knowledge bombs and old breakthroughs. And
I think they were trying to
I
kill
love it.
themselves, like each other, not kill themselves. Nobody's killing themselves, but they were literally going after each other like it was their last Skittle that they've ever had in their life. And
I
I'm
was
like,
eating Skittles last night, actually, from my 9-year-old. That's funny. That's perfect.
yeah.
They were good. I'll go apologize after. I'm gonna make it right. I'll do better, guys. I promise. I sabotaged that relationship. Well, that was
You're the
beautiful.
parent doing the candy tax, right? When they go out for Halloween. And
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Only almond joys, though.
ooh, yeah.
I loved it. I love that. Great
right.
new knowledge. Yeah, that was awesome.
Absolutely incredible. I'm just going to look at the comments here and see if there's
Yeah,
anything
Dorothy Inez. She was last year. She was instrumental. She called me because I was struggling with some things, and she has really supported me with stepping into my power.
Yeah.
So, Dorothy Inez, thank you so much for who you are and what you do, and for being
got
here
Girl,
today.
you're amazing.
Girl, you
She's
amazing.
Girl,
powerful.
I love her so much.
The coach formerly known as Dorothy Inez, she's going to be a symbol soon.
Yes.
But man, if you want to check out, she's got some really good programs too to offer around that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
she's a
So-
confidence coach. Amazing coach.
Yeah, and so everyone who's watching on social media as well, if you'd like to hook up with Maureen, please, it's prothrive.com, right, Maureen?
SBH, ProThriveSBH.com.
SBH, ProThrive. I'm going to put it in the comments here.
Thank you.
Love you too,
ProThrive.
Dorothy.
Guys, thank
So
you.
you can get together with Maureen at ProThriveSBH.com if you'd like to talk to her further about her services. She is our resident hypno lady. So
Mhm. Powerful
thank you
giant.
so much, Maureen, for being here today and co-hosting with us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you here again next week.
Thank you so much. It was an
All right,
absolute
we're
pleasure to be here.
beautiful. We're going to end our broadcast here and say goodbye.